You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Angel Orsini, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Doing really well. It's good to speak with you.
It's great to be heard. It's great to be out of the hospital.
Yes, we heard about that. You want to tell us exactly what happened at the, was it the Revolution that this took place?
Yes, for Dangerous Women of Wrestling.
Yep.
Yep, I was doing a tables, ladders, and chairs match, and versus Sumi Sakai, and the match was really, I thought it was a great match. We were going to do a balcony spot off of the entranceway in the building.
Right.
But the commissioners wouldn't let us work out in the crowd anymore, so we had to bring it back in the ring.
Why was that? Is that an angle, or is that legitimate that they wouldn't let you go out into the crowd anymore?
No, it was just the commissioners are the commissioners. I mean, they control the event, and if you don't do what they tell you to do, they can arrest you. So they have a lot of authority in the state of Pennsylvania. The commissions, it varies from state to state, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we had to bring the match back into the ring.
Right.
And we were going to do the ladder spot through the table. You know, it's kind of like, you know, the highest part of the match.
Right.
You know, to try to make it, you know, a high jump and everything like that.
Right.
Earlier, you know, we had told the referee before the match and showed her how to hold the ladder and told her that, you know, it was her responsibility as a referee to hold the ladder and to make sure it was stable.
Right.
So I saw her out of the corner of my eye when I was going to climb the ladder, and I thought that, you know, she remembered what we told her, and I took it for granted that she was holding the ladder.
Right.
I was inside the ring, climbing up the ladder, and I was going to jump to the outside of the ring and go through the table that Sumi was laying on. And, well, when I jumped off the ladder, it fell backwards because she wasn't holding it. So instead of jumping a distance, I basically jumped up and kind of straight down.
Right.
So I got up high enough, but I didn't get out far enough to make it through the table. So I ended up, you know, having to make a decision while I'm in the air as to how to land, and I just thought the best way to land would be to try to do it on both my feet. Only thing is that I was already adjusting my body to do a move through the table, so I was uneven in the air.
Right.
And so I came down on my heels because I kind of had to push my legs underneath me. And so I landed on one foot more than the other. So I shattered my right foot and just broke the left one.
Oh, wow.
So it required surgery to put my foot back together. But because the skin is so thin on the top and on the sides of your foot that the doctors wanted to delay it and make sure that the swelling would go down as much as possible so that it wouldn't leave a big scar.
How long is that going to put you out of action?
I'll be on crutches in 2 weeks, and in 6 weeks this cast comes off, and I will be walking on it, and basically from that point it's up to me to push myself through my therapy. They think that once you know, it's up to me. They're saying basically 3 to 4 months.
Wow.
So that's better than they initially thought. But they've taken into consideration the foundation of muscle that I have on my body, and that I'm not an average person. So they went from 6 months to 3 to 4 months.
What do you mean by that you're not an average person?
Well, most average people don't have so much musculature on their body.
Right.
And they're also maybe not as tolerant to pain as somebody who's an athlete or especially a professional wrestler, because we put our bodies through a serious amount of pain.
Absolutely.
And we live with a certain amount of pain all the time, especially the longer that you're in this business.
Right.
So I have a pretty high threshold for pain. And so I'll be able to push myself through physical therapy more so than your average person would, because average people aren't so physically active in the first place. And they're not used to exercising on a daily basis is, a problem for them. It's a discipline that they have to develop, whereas I already have that discipline in my life. I mean, before I had the surgery, I was already forcing myself to move my foot. And, they thought that was pretty extraordinary.
It's also probably pretty dangerous. I mean, could that have damaged it worse or irritated the injury?
There really wasn't anything worse that could be done to me at that point. My surgery was 6.5 hours.
Wow.
It was originally scheduled to be a 4-hour surgery, but I had pieces of my bone up in my ankle and up in the bottom part of my leg.
Ouch. Ouch.
So they were pulling out a lot of pieces of bone, and they were really surprised, actually, at the extent of the damage. They said that the impact must have been tremendous. My doctor has no idea how I finished my match.
You finished the match?
Finished your match?
Yes, I did.
That's incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah, that must be adrenaline that you were running off.
I remember trying to get up and that I kept falling back down. I honestly don't remember how I got myself in the ring again. And I did it. I kept my eye on what she was doing in the ring, and my timing was perfect to get back into the ring, to get back onto the table, to pull her off the ladder, and to finish the match. I don't know how I did it. I really don't. Except for I kept saying to myself, I can't let the match end this way. It was such a great match. I was so proud of the match that I just couldn't let it end that way.
Right. I gotta tell you, you have a very distinct accent. We actually do a show. I do a show every Wednesday night, live on the air, and Francine's one of our, I guess, co-hosts, you could put it. Are you also from the Philadelphia area?
Well, I consider myself a Florida girl. I lived in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I lived in any place. But I've been living in Jersey, closest to Philly, about an hour away from Philly, since 2002 now.
Oh, okay.
Well, minus my year and a half I lived in Europe, so.
Ah. Okay.
Well,
I've
got a question about that later, but we can get to it. Now, a little semi-personal information. There are several sites on the internet that list you as being between 5'4" and 5'8".
Okay.
How tall are you really?
5'4". I guess on my wrestling boots, 5'5". Because
you don't have lifts in your boots, do you?
No. No, I have no reason to do that.
Well, because China, we'll ask a question about her later. Would often wrestle with lifts in her wrestling boots, so she could be tall as some of the boys.
Yeah, I guess she would have to be. I mean, she was tall. I remember her being basically 6 foot, but she was, tall girl. But I guess they had, maybe for TV, it looked better for her. I don't know. I mean, that's their decisions to make. But I have absolutely no reason to do something like that because, I'm just me.
Another question, might be a little personal, is on your website there's a picture of you with a tattoo on your left shoulder.
Okay.
Can you explain what that tattoo is?
Well, basically I'm a Christian, and I got a tattoo after I was in a car accident as kind of like I learned my lesson from what happened to me, and I just wanted to show my gratitude to God and just let everybody know what I believe in and be more, I guess, public about my faith. That's all.
Excellent. Well, that actually segues into the next question. As I said, the name of the event that you hurt yourself so severely was called Revolution, and I know a lot of the WEW shows have various plays on the word hoe. What do you think of the way that maybe the women in wrestling are portrayed with names such as that being the title of events?
Well, I hate it personally, but I'm not in charge of anything, you know?
Right.
And I'm just a talent on the show that's given a spot, a character to do, and matches to wrestle. And all I care about is getting an opportunity to wrestle because I love what I do. I've dedicated my life to it for the past 10 years. And, you know, if it was my company, I would do it differently. But, I mean, you know, I'm just another talent that's given an opportunity to do what she loves to do on a show. And I guess that they feel that that's the way that they have to market it in order for it to compete with the other products that are out there.
Well, there's well, not to get off topic because we're going to get into your career history, but there's a new group called Shimmer, which is, I believe, based in your neck of the woods. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've been asked by the companies that I work for to not work for that company because they see it, I guess, as a competition.
Wow. So out of loyalty to them, you will obey those requests?
Yeah, I mean, because, yeah, it's a matter of loyalty, and plus it's a difference in consistent, regular work as opposed to a once-in-a-while thing, you know.
Right.
Okay. Well, now we'll get to the boring career history questions. You had a...
Not that your career is boring, but the questions are boring.
No, but, yeah.
I was going to say, it's been pretty adventurous for me, from my point of view.
Yeah.
I apologize for misreading that. Well, on your website, you have listed that you began bodybuilding training, and you also studied a couple of martial arts. Can you go into detail on those?
Yeah, I became into martial arts because I had been attacked by a stranger at a young age, and I wanted to learn how to defend and protect myself. Without going into too much detail, I started just the most simplest martial art was Taekwondo, and I ended up getting my black belt. I also became an instructor, and I also was an amateur fighter. I became state champion, and I could have, at that point, pursued going to the Olympics, but at the same time that I was going to all these tournaments, I got the opportunity to train with Bart Vale in Miami for shoot fighting, or what you call now has developed into mixed martial arts. And so I decided that I would rather become a professional fighter, and so I started training with him. And then that afforded me the opportunity to go to Japan and fight as a professional MMA fighter.
Yeah, that was my next question. Your first match on your website is against Yumiko Hotta. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. Now, I've seen some of her matches, some of her work matches, and she's pretty stiff with those kicks. So I was wondering how she was in a shoot fight.
Yeah, she was giving it 100% because I was giving it 100%, and she knew as soon as we started fighting that I came there to beat her. And I didn't know anything about pro wrestling then. I didn't know anything about that fights could be fixed or anything like that. I was totally what we would say green and completely naive to the fact that they were not going to let me win that fight. And I went there and I gave it 100%, and she had to match me and, fend me off. I believe, I was told anyway, that I fought the longest against her than any other American woman had gone against her. Basically, she had, 3 minutes or less squashed every other American that she fought. and the only people that gave her a run for her money was a Russian girl and other Japanese girls.
So it was supposed to be a work fight, or?
No, they just didn't let me win. Like, the referee kept telling her how to get out of all my holds. And I started somewhere along the line in the match. I realized that it was one-sided, that it was them against me. Because it was a vale-tudo, which means there was no rules. So there was you weren't allowed to have an escape unless you legitimately reversed your way out of a hold. But I had gotten her in an ankle lock, an Achilles lock, and I had it locked in, and she was ready to tap, and the referee told her to grab the rope. And she grabbed the rope, and he made us stand up again. So I didn't understand that, because, and that kind of threw me off. It threw me off my game, because I was really confused, and I didn't understand why we were allowed to stand back up again, because I knew that she was going to give up. And then when she got the jump on me at that point, and then I ended up fighting my way to the ropes, and I got myself where I was actually under the ropes, and she had to punch me through the ropes to get me, and he didn't stand us back up, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? I mean, I thought we were going to get stood back up again, you know, and she clocked me, and I had a really serious concussion from those punches that I sustained at that moment in time. So I was really confused, and I didn't know what I was going to do to win the match. So we just were fighting again, and then she had me in an arm bar where my arm was between her legs, but she did not have her hip behind my elbow. So it's like, all right, I'm going to have to rest here and figure out, you know, what to do, because I got to finish this now. I can't go any further. I'm running out of steam. And before I could get the chance to roll up and grab my arm, the referee stopped the fight. And I was like, I was really mad. And I was like yelling at him, and because I didn't tap. And I was like, why the hell did you stop the fight? You know, I was just getting my second win going. But then backstage, they explained it to me. A couple of the boys were backstage, and they were like, you didn't know? They're not going to let you win this fight. This is this girl's hometown. This is where she was born and raised. There was no way you were walking out. You would have had to knock her out to win this fight. And I was like, man, why didn't anybody tell me this beforehand? And I was really upset, because I went there to win that fight.
All right, when you're in that match and the referee's telling her how to escape your hold, I assume you speak in Japanese?
Right, and I'm like, what?
Do you speak Japanese? Do you
no,
understand?
I don't. And
okay.
I'm like, what the hell is he telling her? And then I'm seeing that she's listening to what he's saying, and then she's able to get out of my hold.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm like, wait a minute, is he telling her? Because he's not talking to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's not, and he could speak English, too. And I was like, I think he's telling her. You know, it took me a while for this to dawn on me. You got to understand that I had no idea that they could do that, or that they would do that, even if, you know. And so I was just figuring it out as it was going along.
Huh.
Okay, before we get to the next question, what was your MMA record in Japan at this time?
Well, that was the only fight that I fought. The rest of my MMA fights were amateur, so they were like by decisions and stuff, and I don't even know what my record was, because I didn't keep track of it, and I didn't really care about it. I just thought it was all like a learning process, and then I started, well, once I got to Japan and I saw the women do the pro wrestling, and I met Reggie Bennett, I didn't really care so much about MMA anymore. I really wanted to become a pro wrestler at that point. So I basically just did whatever I had to do for the dojo where I came from.
Right.
And I wasn't really even training in MMA anymore after that, because I was pretty discouraged.
Well, then you mentioned that you didn't even see pro wrestling, and you just kind of mentioned that you saw some of the Japanese girls. Are they the influence that got you involved in wrestling?
Absolutely. I was really wowed by their performances, and I never seen women actually get the opportunity to wrestle like they wrestle. I hadn't seen it anywhere in America, you know.
Right.
So I was like, that's what if I can wrestle like that, I want to do it. And then Reggie Bennett told me, she was like, you just got to go to somebody who's been to Japan and had a career in Japan, because otherwise you'll get stuck with like the glow style, she said, and you know, you're being a shoot fighter, you're not going to like that. And I knew what she meant, and I was like, no, I won't like that style. I want to wrestle like these girls wrestle. And then I talked to a couple of people, and they led me to Liz Chase. And she had a really extensive career in Japan, so I was totally in the right place when I met her.
Well, you're going through all the questions I had.
Well, let me ask you this. I do want to ask you this question, though. When you saw those Japanese wrestlers going at it, did you ever think that there'd be a time in your life that you'd be setting up a ladder to jump over the ropes onto a table?
No, I didn't. I really didn't. I mean, that was 10 years ago.
Right. So even American wrestling wasn't even there yet.
No, not at all. Not even close. Not for women.
Certainly not for women, and for men, it was just kind of, Sabu was kind of just making that kind of thing common.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I started watching ECW after that, and I was like, yeah, I want to wrestle like that. That's cool.
Well, we'll get to ECW in a minute. I have a couple other questions. There's another website that says you were also trained by Dusty Rhodes. Is any of that true?
I trained with Dusty Rhodes during and after ECW. Yes, I was in Georgia. I stayed in Atlanta for a lot of time while being on the road for ECW, because it was just easier than going all the way back down to Fort Lauderdale.
Did Dusty teach you a lot about the more American style?
Yeah, Dusty taught me more about psychology, and from being around Dusty, I also understood more about how to run your own company and how to do like a TV program if you were to write it and stuff like that. And I learned a lot about TV wrestling, yeah, which is a little bit different because you have to be more aware of cameras, and you got to slow down a lot in order to, you know, have the cameras catch the most important things that you want for TV. And I think also how to, like, build up a match. And instead of, like, ECW was a constant, steady pace.
Right.
And that's really hard to do with people who aren't to that level. So to kind of slow it down and build it up to a certain level and get the audience to, like, follow it and understand everything that you're doing in the ring better.
Right.
That's what I learned from Dusty Rhodes. He is incredible, and he's an incredible person, and his whole family is just, they're terrific people.
I'd agree. I've interviewed Dusty, and I was surprised at how polite and nice he is, just because I've dealt with a lot of people who believe the hype a lot, believe their own press.
Yeah.
So he's not that way at all. He's very down to earth.
Oh, my God, he's so humble. I asked Dusty, I said, Dusty, when can a wrestler say they're not green anymore? And he said, sugar, we all green, we just different shades. Me, I'm turquoise. And I was like, oh, my God, if you're turquoise, I'm as green as grass, man.
That's a good impression. What about your, how long were you training before you had your first match?
Well, let's see. I started, like, right away when I came back. I would say probably the whole entire summer. I had my first match in sometime in October. It was, I don't remember the date, but it was for Biketoberfest. And it was with Joni Lee. And she came to train with us, Liz Chase, her school, for like the last 6 weeks of my training. So Joni was the person that I trained in the ring with for the last weeks before my match. She was also, we would go to the gym and we would work out together. I was amazed by her. She was an incredible athlete, and I was just like, she was like an idol to me, you know. I was like, I'm going to grow up and be just like her, you know, because I thought she was just an incredible athlete.
So now a lot of us want to live the dream. So what was it like getting in the ring for the first time in a worked wrestling match?
Well, I gotta say, it was so incredible, and I tried to like savor every moment of it. I was on a show with Luna Vachon,
wow,
and Malaya Hasaka, and these women were like so many years in the business, and I was just like so grateful to be on a show with them. And I kept my mouth shut. I was just like a fly on the wall. I was observing everything, and it was like I was learning how to interact with them. I just wanted to just shut up and listen and learn from them and learn everything that I possibly could, because who knew if this was going to be my first and my last? You know, I didn't know how good I was going to be able to do and everything. And, yeah, I was just trying to soak it all in and savor every moment of it. And it was awesome. I mean, there was like over 1,000 bikers there, and I was like, man, I better do a good job, or these bikers are going to come and run in the ring and kick my ass, you know. It was the coolest thing, man. It was such a rush. It was awesome, and I was hooked. I was hooked from the moment those bikers were yelling, Riptide, Riptide, I was hooked. I'm like, I'm going to do this for as long as I am physically able. There is nothing that's going to stop me from doing this again.
So you had the Riptide gimmick before you were in ECW?
Oh, yeah. I was Riptide in training. I had already decided that was going to be my wrestling name.
How come in recent shows you've just been going by Angel Orsini?
Well, that's really because I've been doing the pay-per-views as the FBI Angel Orsini, and also because when I went to the WWE shows and had my tryout, I introduced myself as Angel Orsini. So I just figure, you know, everybody can keep track of me better if I just kind of stick with one name. Plus, I wasn't really sure if I was allowed to be the Prodigette, because I would have really, really liked to continue doing that. But WEW didn't want to get into a copyright thing with Vince,
right?
You know, so they just let me be my real name and, you know, put the FBI in front of it to give me like an ECW kind of identifier.
Right.
Even though it's not the full-blooded Italian, it's the full-breasted Italian, you know. So, but I'm only half Italian anyway. So.
Well, the name sounds Italian enough, so I guess that works.
Yeah.
Do you know if that was a rip on the full-blooded Italian gimmick? Or?
Yeah, that's what they were trying to do, but they had to give it their own meaning so not to get any kind of lawsuit, you know.
Right, right. I've actually watched a lot of the WEW pay-per-views. I've pretty much already asked you about the names, but what do you also think of the auditions for the PWO?
I don't watch that, to be honest with you. I don't watch it. Only things I watch are my girlfriends that ask me to watch their matches, because to be honest with you, I'm usually either semi-main or main event, and I really don't watch what goes on before me because I'm concentrating so much on what I want to do in my match, and some of the things that the promoter has asked, we make sure we include in our match. So I can't really watch it until after the fact, and then after the fact, I really only watch the matches that are like my girlfriend's.
Right, right.
So, because, you know, I don't care for any of the other stuff, to be honest with you. I'm totally don't like it, but I understand, you know, it has its place in business and stuff, and I understand that it's used as a marketing tool, and all that porno stripper stuff is, you know, it helps us keep to perform, because the money comes in from that also, and that affords us our payday and guarantees more shows for us. So I don't really, speak out against it, or, I just don't do it. And they never have asked me to do any of that stuff, and I'm grateful, because I would consider it to be disrespectful if they did. I'm just a wrestler. I love to wrestle. I just want to wrestle.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned WWE just a second ago. Do you have hopes or admirations of working under the WWE banner?
To be honest with you, I don't think I would be happy working for them, because I don't think I would ever be allowed to be myself and be who I am. And if I can't be myself and I have to be some phony bitch, I'm not going to be happy. See, to be honest with you, it wasn't really... I was happy in ECW just because I was so grateful to be in such a talented locker room. I felt like ECW, they were the best product in wrestling. I felt like the people that were in that locker room were the best in the business, and the people who were there before, I just felt like honored to be in their company and to kind of try to carry on that tradition. So, but I wasn't, to be honest with you, happy to not get to wrestle more, but that was, I did what I was told to do, and I never complained about it, and I was just happy to get to go to work every weekend.
Right.
And that's what I did. But I would have liked to have really been a female Taz, like, to the full extent, and really been able to do that gimmick, which is what I thought it was supposed to be in the beginning.
Right.
But then there was a lot of things with the women in ECW that was like always an ongoing war, and it was very uncomfortable. So I just kept my mouth shut, and I just did whatever they asked me to do, and I was grateful that I was still being asked and still getting paid.
Yes, we, like I said, we have Francine on. She kind of co-hosts the show every Wednesday night with me, my show, which is on AM radio. And we've tried to poke around and find out exactly what the war was all about backstage with the women, but she pretty much keeps it very tight-lipped.
Yeah, she's a complete professional. She is somebody that I go to for advice.
Oh, absolutely.
And she is a dear, dear friend of mine. I love her. I think she is a great person. And I like the other women that were in ECW. I do stay in touch with some of them, and but she is really a dear friend of mine, and I value her friendship.
Right, and I couldn't be more thankful that she joins us. I'm not trying to rip on her at all.
Yeah, you're really lucky, and I'm sure you can learn a lot about the business from working with her because of the way she carries herself, and she's so knowledgeable.
Right, right.
Well, the next question I have for you about your career is between, well, actually, you spent some time in Puerto Rico with Lita.
Peru.
Peru. Oh, I'm sorry. I wrote these questions really quickly. I'm really sorry.
Okay.
What do you think of what she's become in the WWE?
Well, I like her character that she's doing now. I think that's really, I think that's good, well suited for her, and because she's done all the other things. It's time to do something different by being a heel, and I think it's good, because they like that, as real to life story as they can get from you. So I think it's all good, and I think it's good for her career, to do something different. I don't know. I don't really stay in touch with her so well as some of the other girls, but she seemed really happy last time I talked to her and saw her. So.
Now, you tried out for ECW twice. Second time you got the role of the Prodigette. Now, I heard a rumor that the first tryout was when Amy got the Miss Congeniality gimmick. Any of that true?
No, actually, Amy was already in ECW and already had her job when I went for my second tryout.
Okay.
I think that was somebody else, and I don't know for sure who, so I'm kind of don't want to say, but it wasn't me. I had my tryout with Jason Knight, and I wrestled him first tryout, and I messed up. So they also didn't have a spot open for me. But I kept on trying, so I wanted that job. I wanted to be in ECW more than I wanted any other, to be with any other company, just because I respected it and admired it so much.
Now, when you finally got the role of the Prodigette, you became the valet or manager of the Simon Diamond Sideshow Freak.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit about the gimmick and what it was like to be finally in ECW for you?
Well, I was so happy to be there. Oh my God, I was like a little puppy. I was so happy. You know how puppies just stupid and jumping up and down and hyper all the time? That was me. I was just so happy to be there. And I would go for every workout, and you know, the people used to come and try out before, and even though I had my job, I was still ready to work out with people, and a couple of people had to have their tryout wrestling me. And I got treated just like anybody else, just like one of the guys. I wasn't treated any different. And I loved it. I loved the whole atmosphere there. About the character, the Prodigette was the sister of Tom Marquez, the prodigy, Tom Marquez. And I was supposed to be like the annoying little sister who was trying to be just like her big brother, even though in real life we're not related. But so that was Tommy Dreamer's idea, and what they really eventually wanted us to be was a tag team of ourselves. And we did get to have a match against Swinger and Simon. It was cool. I loved that. It was a great experience. I was so happy to get to wrestle with the guys and everything. And
do you like those kind of intergender matches?
Yes, very much. I wrestled for a company in Atlanta that was run by Teddy Long and Rocky Bulware, and I loved working for them. That was like in 1998, 1999, and that was the first time that a company let me hold a title belt. I was a hardcore champion, and I got to wrestle the guys, and all my matches were against men, and I loved it because it's just, I didn't have to worry so much about stiff punches and kicks because it's with the guys, and I know they could take it, you know. So I just got to really throw caution to the wind, and I really got to experience what I had wanted in the beginning of my career, which was to wrestle like a Japanese woman gets to wrestle. And I got to have that with men back then. Now I could do that with the girls because there's so many girls that can handle that now, but back then there wasn't.
Anybody in ECW ever try to ask you out on a date or hit on you?
Guys are guys. I mean, you know, but I never put myself, I never acted that way. I've never really been interested in the wrestlers. Like, I always wanted to make sure that people knew I was in wrestling because I wanted to be a wrestler, not because I wanted to be some wrestler's girlfriend.
It's funny because that's what you mentioned a name before, Malaya Hasaka. And she actually told a story that the first day she got trained, Killer Kowalski basically interrogated her saying that, why do you want to be a wrestler? And she said, because I want to do wrestling. And he's like, be honest, you want to date the boys. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of the common thought of a lot of the girls.
Yeah, well, it's a lot what a lot of the girls, and you know, do. And it's like us girls that are already wrestlers don't really respect girls that it's like, okay, you have to wrestle this girl because she's so-and-so's girlfriend, and he wants her to start, you know, learning how to wrestle. And it's like, great. Can't I wrestle a real girl wrestler instead, you know?
Right.
And, like, I totally respect anybody who's willing to get in the ring and sacrifice their body and risk getting a serious injury. So I don't, you know, take it lightly. And when I'm in the ring with somebody who's not experienced or not as experienced, I, you know, take a lot of precautions to make sure that they don't get hurt. But that's not as fun for me.
Right.
As it is to wrestle somebody that's where I'm at.
Right.
You know, or better than me, because I'm not the best. You know, I've been around for a long time, but I'm definitely not the best. And I love it when I work with somebody that I view as having better skills than me, because then it makes me try to raise the bar on myself.
Right.
You know, and I love that because, you know, that tests myself, and that's what it's all about, you know.
Right. Well, without being negative or jerky with asking this question, I'm going to just put it out there. Now that ECW is gone, which is a blow to the wrestling business, and I've always known that it has been, now that that's no longer available for people as options, and you said you're not really interested in WWE, is companies like Dangerous Women of Wrestling and Women's Exotic Wrestling or Extreme Wrestling, whichever name they're going to go by, is that good enough to be a wrestler and live off of?
No. You know, not where it's at now. They take care of me well because I'm a foundational person. I've been with them since day one that they started. So my loyalty to them, it goes a long way with them, and it means a lot to them.
Right.
And they give me a lot of liberties that a lot of other women don't get to have because, you know, it's just like anywhere else. When you're new, you got to pay your dues with the company and work your way up. And I'm grateful for, you know, the way that they take care of me, and also the friendship that I have with everybody in the company. But, you know, basically right now I think they're probably going to move up in the wrestling world. They have slowly, I have seen them over the years slowly grow and do better and do better, and now the way that it is now, that there's more women wrestlers that they've hired and less of the other. And the other girls that aren't wrestlers, they're given their spots accordingly, where it's not like we really have to wrestle them so much anymore. It's more like we get to wrestle the other girl wrestlers that can wrestle now. And it's taken a long time, but they have always wanted to go in that direction. It's just that they were doing the best they could with what they had. Right. And I think now they're in a position where they're really going to start to grow. And it's going to be, I think, a better product. Now, they're still going to have the porno spots in there, but that's totally separate now.
Right.
And they bring in their porno girls for that and girls for that. And we don't even, I don't even meet those girls. They're not even backstage at the show. They film all that stuff separate now.
Good.
And that shows you also that they do respect us girls and the talent that we do have and that we bring to the table for them. So, you know, I'm very, very grateful for that, and I hope that it does get better because they've really put a lot into it.
Well, one final ECW question for you. There are a great many stories about how much Paul Heyman owed to a lot of his wrestlers when ECW shut down. Did Paul owe you any?
No, absolutely not. And actually, everything that Paul ever said to me, he has fulfilled the obligation to me, and I can't say one bad word about him. I mean, he taught me a lot. He took time and critiqued me and gave me constructive criticism and helped me to be the wrestler that I am. Although I worked more with Tommy Dreamer, and I have really owe it to Tommy Dreamer, my career that I had in ECW, and more also that he inputted to me as a person and as a wrestler. But I can't say anything bad because in truth, they've never done anything bad to me, you know. But I'm hoping that I can have a career in Japan. It's been 10 years, and I really, after I'm done rehabbing this injury, I'm really going to try to push to get myself to go to Japan. And that's where I'd like to finish my career. And also I'd like to continue, you know, of course, working for WEW and Dangerous Women of Wrestling. But I want to go back to Japan.
Right.
I want to go back to the beginning, you know, where it all started.
Well, you mentioned that that's where you'd like to retire. How many more years do you want to be going?
Well, to be honest with you, if my foot heals the way my doctor says, it's going to be up to my discretion. And that's going to be when I can no longer perform to a certain level, because I feel like I've set a certain standard for myself,
Right.
And when I cannot maintain that standard in my look and my performance, well, I'm going to walk away on top still. I may continue to manage, and I may start my own company or something to that matter once I stop wrestling, but I see myself being in the business for at least 5 to 10 more years.
Excellent.
Okay. Well, now for the slightly more personal question. In 2003, you lost your grandmother.
Oh, dude.
Is that accurate?
No, I didn't lose her. She's still alive. Thank God.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I took care of her for 1 year of my life. I set aside my wrestling career, and she was deemed incompetent and couldn't be left home alone anymore. So I cared for her, and she has Parkinson's disease, which is a very debilitating disease because it attacks your nervous system. And what happens over time is you can't walk or talk and stuff like that. So you need more and more care as time goes on. So I took care of her to the point that I was physically able to. It just got to the point where she needed to be in a wheelchair all the time because of how often she would fall, that her house wasn't set up to be able to have a wheelchair in the house, so we had to then put her in a nursing home.
Huh.
So in 2003, I put her in, actually it was 2004, we put her in the home. And she's still in that place, and but now she can't even talk. It's really sad. But I try to go visit her as much as I can.
I'm really sorry for getting that wrong, what I get for trusting the internet.
That's okay. Hey, they've had a lot of stuff wrong about me on the internet, my age, where I was born, where I live, all kinds of things. But, you know, they're doing the best they can, so I don't get offended. I'm glad that people are interested in my career.
What is your take on the internet in and of itself? Do you think it makes the business a little bit too open?
Well, no, I think it's good because it keeps it on everybody's mind so that they don't forget about it or forget about certain people.
I think it's good for companies, maybe like the ones you work for, but do you think that knowing that Triple H has anything wrong with them, or if Triple H has eyes for some girl, or, I mean, do you think maybe that it's just a little bit too personal?
Yeah, I think that kind of stuff is stupid, but that's just me. I mean, I never get involved in the gossipy part of things.
Right.
Just because, you know, I think I didn't even like it in high school. I thought it was stupid then, you know, so I'm definitely a little bit more grown up than that. And I really, you know, I have too many other important things to do than to worry about what girl so-and-so is banging, or, you know, it just seems silly to me. But I guess if it matters to somebody else, then, you know, there's a website for that too, you know, whatever. I try not to judge people because, you know, I don't really like it when people try to judge me and stuff, you know.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment completely. You recently spent about a year in Europe. You mentioned that earlier. What were you doing?
Oh, I was wrestling, and I was going to start doing MMA again, and I started learning how to box. And I was really interested in maybe, it was something that I was toying with, being the first woman to be a pro wrestler, a pro shoe fighter, and a pro boxer. I thought that would be, you know, something good for my career.
That sounds very damaging to your body, though.
It was, and as it turns out, that my hands are very, very small, and my wrists couldn't take it. I blew something in my wrist, and I mean, like, I could do a little bit of boxing. I was actually really good at it because I'm not afraid to get hit, and I'm more interested in dishing out more than I take. I guess it's the Italian-German mix. I don't know. But, so I was really into it, but my wrist just couldn't take it, and once I started getting heavy into it, it just started to balloon out on me. And I really just had so much wrestling work to do that I didn't have enough time to follow up with the MMA stuff anymore. I got hooked up with a couple of good companies, and I started touring, and I was going somewhere every weekend, and I was loving it.
Well, I guess we can pretty much end the career, touring career questions. Not your career, but, you know, anyway.
No, I understand what you mean.
Yeah. So, now a couple of opinion questions. What do you think of the WWE's policy of hiring models to wrestle instead of making models out of wrestling?
Yeah, I think it's dangerous. As that girl broke her leg just doing a simple fall out of the ring.
Right.
And I think it's also, I don't think it's good for the business, because these girls don't have to be dedicated, or why should you admire them as an athlete? You're probably more of an athlete than they are.
Well, that actually, for the past couple of weeks, we've been interviewing a lot of the females of wrestling, and one of the things I keep talking about is I was on the WWE tour bus with Candice Michelle, and I looked at this girl and I thought, okay, she's maybe 100 pounds, she's 5'1", and quite frankly, she does not look like she would be at all physically imposing, much less able to do much, and now she's like almost their women's champion, which just shocks me.
It's ridiculous. I think it's a joke. They brought what it means to be the women's champion of the WWE, which, I mean, look, the first women's champion was Leilani Kai, and then you go down to like that, ugh. You know, I'm sorry, but that's like, it doesn't mean anything. That's why it's like, why would I want to work for them? And what, do you think that I'm going to let those girls beat me? I'm sorry, but they can't pay me enough for that.
Wow.
They're not interested in women's wrestling to pay me enough to do that. And I wouldn't do it just out of respect for the women that held the belt beforehand. They don't deserve it to be discredited like that. And the other women that I know that are my friends in this business, I feel like it's a great disservice to them. I know what it takes and all the sacrifices that we have to make to be able to perform at the level. We try to equal the men. Now, we're not. I don't think we are. I mean, there's, so many outstandingly talented men that are so excellent. I don't think I'll ever be that good. But that's what we try. We try to earn our spot in their locker room and honor them and respect them by being dedicated and performing at a certain level.
Right.
Okay? And then in return for that, on TV, they totally diss us.
Right.
They could give a crap less.
Well, that's the thing that bothers me. Even if there is a good match, like, say, Trish Stratus and Victoria,
yeah, they're excellent wrestlers.
They have a phenomenal match, and if you listen to the commentary, though, it's more about, well, she looks good tonight or she doesn't look good tonight. But,
right.
I mean, if there was a woman commentator, she wouldn't be commentating on the men's look. You know, it would be the match itself.
It was so much better when they used to keep it separate, and those girls used to be valets, and they used to have their little bra and panties matches or whatever, you know, their pillow things, and that was great, and it got the pop for the crowd, and the crowd liked it for about 2 seconds.
Right.
And then when they couldn't carry it because they didn't know how to do anything, then you'd have a real girls match later on, and then, you know, the crowd would get their satisfaction from that. But now they're trying to cut corners, I guess, and get 2 for 1 or whatever.
Right.
And I think it's terrible. I think it's terrible mostly for the fans. I can't tell you how many people write me emails and they're like, this is terrible. When are they going to get real girls on their show? And I'm like, you know, I don't know what to tell you. I don't get to make these decisions, you know. I just do what I do, and I just plod along, you know, and try to just, you know, look for an opening wherever new territories I can break into, and just, you know, look forward to having my next match. You know, that's what I live for. So I wish it was better for you guys and you had more you could watch. You know, maybe one day I'll win the lottery and I could start my own company, and then you definitely will, you know.
Right.
But until then, until somebody, you know, decides to back women's wrestling. And the thing that I think is the big mistake is you got guys that are promoting women's wrestling. That's what the big mistake is, because a lot of it has to do with, see, the girls use that to their advantage to try to manipulate and flirt, to work their way to the top.
As another co-host of the show would say, go down to get up.
Yeah, and so then you got a lot of people that really don't deserve to be there, because I think if it was really just the way it used to be, where you just, the veterans, they got the respect that they deserve because they deserve it. They've been around longer, and girls, I've seen so many girls come and go and be in the business 1 year, or at the most, I say like 3 years, and then they're gone because they get a boyfriend or they want to go do something else with their life. And I'm not knocking that either. But then, in the meantime, you had a 12-year veteran have to put that 1 year rookie over and make her the champion.
Right.
And then meanwhile, 2 years from now, she's gone and she's going to be knocked up and not even think about wrestling again. And it's really not fair. The way it used to be was the veteran girls, they were your main girls and they carried the belts and were in the major storylines, and the newer girls had to pay their dues and work their way up and prove that they wanted it and prove that they could deserve that kind of responsibility, because it is a responsibility, because you have to go and you have to promote for that company when you're a champion. You have to go and do autograph signings. You have to go and do other things outside of just going to the shows. You got to do radio interviews and maybe TV interviews and stuff. So you got to show that you're dedicated to the company,
right,
to wrestling in general, that you're not going to just quit tomorrow because you fell in love and, oh my God, I got to go get married.
Well, there was a point you made earlier about women writing for the stories in Ivory, who James interviewed extensively.
Yeah, you asked that girl one question, her answers were like 45 minutes each.
She is awesome.
I respect her great. I respect her tremendously, but she's a talker.
Yep. Plus, she said something that a woman needs to write for women's wrestling because the men can't do it. In effect, do you agree with that?
Absolutely, because we would treat it just like the guys treat the guys. Like it's a serious thing. See, because women are women, okay? No matter what we're doing, we still look like women, and we still are women, and guys are still going to look at us the same way, whether we're smacking the crap out of each other or, doing Hurricane Ranas or whatever. You don't need to point things out to guys. They're going to notice that stuff, as they're watching it.
Right.
So you don't need to center your whole women's wrestling company around those innuendos and those sexual connotations, because the men watching it are already doing it in their brain while they're watching it in the first place. So just let the girls be, tough little butt kickers and let them do their thing and promote them like you would the guys if you had an all-guys company, and it would be over so much better because you could market it, be oriented there. And then, see, but the way you do it this way, you're cutting off a lot of possibilities because it's so sexual and so R-rated and for mature audiences only that you can't market it in a lot of places.
One more question for you, from me, and then I'm not sure how many Chris has, but I have one left, and it kind of goes hand in hand with what you're saying.
Okay.
What do you think of when you're watching Dawn Marie and, who was it, Tori Wilson, and for some reason they have to be involved in a lesbian angle, even though they're both clearly heterosexual?
Yeah, I just, and it's a shame because I think Dawn and Tori had gotten so good at wrestling.
Right.
I mean, I saw it from in the beginning, and then I saw a couple of house shows, and then their pay-per-views after they had been working with each other for a while, and I noticed the difference, and I thought that they were good matches. Mm-hmm. Especially compared to the girls that had those spots before, like the Cat, Jerry Lawler's girlfriend. Oh my God! And then that little short girl that was married to Dustin.
Oh, Terry Reynolds?
Oh, they couldn't wrestle worth a lick, and she and Dawn Marie and Tori have wrestling matches. Such a better, I thought, level of skill and talent. And then to see them have to do that, I just thought they just killed it,
Yeah.
Okay, well, my final question is, one you've answered about 3 or 4 times. I'll ask it anyway. Do you think a women's wrestling organization that focused on the in-ring abilities and not on the, well, let's just call it mature stuff, could succeed in the United States?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They would just need, it takes money. To do it the right way, it would take some backing, and it would take a substantial amount of money to market it. But there was so many things that you could do with it that you can't do with men. I'm thinking like getting sponsors for different makeup and hair products and stuff. But it would have to really be, it couldn't be with the sexual connotations then, because, see, then it would be too trashy to try to market it in a real Hollywood business type of way. But if you could keep it where it was really sport-like women's volleyball, like they wear those skimpy little outfits, but they don't have to point that out over and over and over again, and they don't have to be, kissing each other and making out with each other. It's just,
Yeah.
It just sells itself because guys want to go see girls in tiny little outfits jumping around,
Yes.
And they would do the same for wrestling.
Right.
I'm one of them. No.
Yes, Chris is...
Well, no, go ahead.
It's okay. I was just going to say thank you so much. This was actually a lot of fun to sit down and interview with you, and I have...
Word association.
You want to do those?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
Well, let me give you the spiel. These are some word associations. If you have a story, feel free to share.
Okay.
If you only have a one-word answer, that's fine too.
Okay.
Okay.
First one is Liz Chase.
Oh, I miss her so much. I think about her all the time, and I'm so sad. Oh, God, I'm going to cry if I think about it too much. It's a shame that she was taken away from us so soon because she had a lot more to offer.
Okay, we'll get... how about her trainer, the Fabulous Moolah?
Wow, what an icon. And I can't believe she's still kicking it, man. She's awesome. I hope I'm 74 and I'm still kicking the crap out of somebody.
How about your first opponent in a wrestling match, Joni Laurer?
Yeah, I wish I had ever gotten to see her again and stay in touch with her. And it would have been nice to stay in touch with her. I thought she was a really nice person, although I've been told that she has kind of gone downhill a lot. But, maybe if I had been able to stay in touch with her, maybe I could have been able to help her through some tough times.
Without being a jerk about this, have you ever seen One Night in China?
No.
Okay, good. If you can avoid it, don't. And that's not saying that she's ugly or anything. It's just that, I don't know, I feel bad kind of watching it. I don't know why. Yeah.
Well, amateur porn is not is not a good thing either. But
no, I just don't feel...
That's getting off the stuff.
I've always kind of seen her as an athlete and not a sex symbol, and I guess watching it kind of like hurt my image of her.
Yeah. Well, that's understandable. See,
I'm a bit of a gentleman. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but seeing that much of somebody is definitely going to change your,
Yeah.
Perspective on them. Yeah,
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah, I kind of felt that way when she posed for Playboy. But,
I've never seen any of that. I don't watch any of that stuff. I'm not into it at all.
Well, thankfully I get sent stuff from fans of the show, so that's the only way I saw it. I wasn't going to go buy it, so.
Lucky you. I'm glad they don't send me that stuff.
Oh, it could be coming. I know I got sent one, and then actually Francine was talking about somebody sent her one.
Oh,
so
no.
You could be next on the list.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the next one I have for you is Amy Dumas.
Good for her. You go, girl. Make that money.
This is someone that we interviewed, Malaya Hosaka, and she claims she trained her too. Molly Holly?
Oh, well, actually, she did train her. I was Nora's first trainer, and when I went to the WWE, she introduced me to everyone as her first trainer. But yes, Malaya Hosaka did train her, and that was her second trainer.
Let me ask you this question. One of the things she said that I found a little interesting was she was ragging on a lot of the girls in the business today, doing pre-organized matches, so like basically having a script and following it, and not calling it in the ring. Do you find that is something that occurs often, and is that something that you are quote unquote guilty of?
Well, I don't like it myself very much either. But some people are just newer, and you have to, because otherwise they can't just go with things, and they'll end up getting hurt, if they don't know what's coming.
Or it could just look really awkward, too.
Yeah, and that also, and then it won't be smooth. I care about the finished product, what it looks like. If I have to go through everything ahead of time, then I will, but I don't really like to. I prefer not to. I prefer to do it. But not everybody can do it that way.
Right.
How about Malaya Hosaka?
Yeah, I really respect her for her time in and stuff, but she does tend to cause a little bit of trouble here and there. And that's ever since the very first day that I met her, she was yelling at the promoter. And I thought, oh my gosh, why is she yelling at him in front of the whole locker room for? That's not very appropriate, But she seems to be that kind of person, and you know what? I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, because sometimes people need to get yelled at.
Yeah, she's a self-described heat magnet, I gotta tell you.
Yeah.
How about someone you described as your favorite wrestler of all time, Owen Hart?
Oh my God, and what a shame to be taken away from us, because I understand through many people who knew him personally that he was just an awesome person, and one of the good guys in the business,
I've never heard anybody say one bad thing about him. I take that back. Only one person say one bad thing about him. That's it.
Yeah, and that was probably a jealous person, because he was so talented. He could make anybody look like a star in the ring. He was awesome. And when I started learning wrestling, I watched him more than anybody, because that's really who I wanted to wrestle like.
Okay, how about Tommy Dreamer?
I love Tommy Dreamer. He is an awesome, awesome person, and I stay in touch with him all the time. I talk to him all the time, and I am so glad that he is happy, and I am so glad that he is happily married to the woman of his dreams, and that they have 2 beautiful children, and that he's got a job in the office, and I just couldn't have happened to a better person.
Just a few more.
Sorry.
Good.
That's, I think that's another call of mine beeping through, so I'm sorry, just ignore it.
Okay. Well, we got a couple more. How about the Queen of Extreme herself, Francie?
Oh, I love her. She is like one of my best friends, and I am so glad that she is awesome. I'm so glad she's my friend. I'm so grateful, and I hope that she just keeps staying in the business, and that she just, because I'll tell you what, the day that she retires is going to be a sad day, really sad. I hope she stays in for another 5 more years. You guys got to help me. You got to help me with that. Every time she mentions quitting or retiring, you got to talk her out of it, okay?
She's never mentioned it to me before, but who knows what she's thinking about. I know that she wants to make this website what she wants to do, so we'll see.
Good. Keep her motivated. Keep her going, man. Don't let her stop and get bored.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the final one I have for you, you might be able to guess it, Paul Heyman.
Yeah, what a brilliant mind for the business. I really wish that he would start his own company, and because he's one of the people that Vince McMahon should really keep under contract, because if he goes off and does his own thing, there's another competition waiting for him. What do you think of
a competition in TNA? Do you think that they could ever balloon up to something that could compare to the WWE?
I hope so, because I think competition's good.
Right.
And I think that if they don't, then they're just going to get complacent. And I think that they have been. I think that they're basically force-feeding the fans what the hell ever they decide that they want to force-feed on them. And go ahead and watch wrestling somewhere else if you don't like it.
Right.
And I think that that's their attitude. So I wish TNA would grow. And a lot of my friends are over there now, and I hope that it does get very successful, and I hope it prospers them, because they're all great guys, and I'd love to see them, you know, keep on keeping on in the business, because they're talented, and I love watching them, and I know the fans do too.
Well, they've got a few women already there, Gail Kim, Jackie Gata, and Tracy Brooks.
Yeah.
If they ever started a women's division there, would you be interested in joining up with them?
Oh, yeah, I would definitely. I've heard good things about Jackie and Gail. I've wrestled Tracy a couple of times. I enjoyed it very much. I think she's a very talented wrestler. And, yeah, I would definitely love to go there and work with those girls.
Well, once again, we can't thank you enough for this. This has been fun for all of us, I think.
Awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, too.
Sorry we kept you quite as long as we did. We didn't expect you to, but it was really fun for us, absolutely.
Awesome.
And if I can ask for one final favor.
What?
Could you give us a station plug? The show's 3 Count Wrestling.
3 Count Wrestling rule! You guys kick ass, really. I love it.
Well, thank you very much. And
I think you lost Chris there for a second. I'm sorry. I think you just lost Chris for a second there. If not, he cut out on my phone. I apologize for that.
Okay.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Basically, I just wanted to thank you once again. And do you have a website?
Yes, it's ECWProdigette.com.
Okay.
And pretty soon we're going to be filming my physical therapy. I'm going to be starting in like 2 weeks. And we're going to be putting up clips of my week as I go through PT. So it's going to be like a free thing, and it'll be posted on my website, ECWProdigette.com.
All right, I'll tell you what.
You also have AngelOrsini.com, but that doesn't seem to be as updated as much.
Yeah, I own it, but I haven't done anything with it because I want to keep it. I might do something with AngelOrsini.com. I don't know yet. I haven't decided what we're going to name the new one.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much again. And
sure, and if you ever have any press releases or anything, check us out at WrestlingEpicenter.com. That's EPICENTER.
Okay.
And basically just send me over an email. My email address is right on there, and we'll throw them up. We get roughly about 5,000 hits a day. So there actually is some interest in the site, so we can help you out the best we can.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all your help. I really appreciate it, guys.
Okay.
And thanks for the interview.
Thank you.
I hope that the fans enjoy it.
Thank you, and I hope you have a great night.
Thanks. You too.
Good luck rehabbing.
Thanks. I will do my very best.
Like what you're hearing? Follow us on social media. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/Wrestling Epicenter, or just search Wrestling Epicenter in the search box on Facebook. On Twitter at WEpicenter. On YouTube at IWR Interactive. And of course, check us out at WrestlingEpicenter.com, your hub and home of all things professional wrestling interviews. We're the originals, and we love what we do.